Thank you for joining the second customer story webinar where we focus in on a recent case study centered around an implementation of Microsoft Project Online. And today we hear from Mark Yates, PMO Manager at JD Sports Fashion. Welcome, Mark.
Hi, Baz.
And just before asking Mark for a full introduction, here's the agenda for today. So we're going to start off with a bit about Mark and his team and JD Sports Fashion before delving into some of the questions, which include why the need for a project and portfolio management solution and why Microsoft Project Online. And we'll also be asking how was the change from the before state managed, and we'll also be asking what benefits have been realized through Project Online so far. And lastly, what lessons have been learned but would help others that are looking to follow suit. So, Mark, please tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, Baz. So my name's Mark Yates. I head up the project management office at JD Sports Fashion. I've been with the company for just over 2 years now. I did work for JD Sports a number of years ago as a project manager. And then I left to go and work for Allied Milling and Baking, again as a project manager at the bakeries. I went back to JD Sports in the role of a PMO manager to head up the project services team there. So under my remit, there's a team of 10 project managers, 6 business analysts, and also a project support office. So I guess we're not a typical traditional PMO in that is separated from the project services team. We're all kind of under one banner.
Obviously, when I think of JD, I think of JD Sports, the fashion retailer, but there's a lot more to the company.
Yeah, so what surprises a lot of people when I say I work for JD Sports is people just think about the sports side of the business, the sports fashion side of the business, but actually they're quite surprised when I talk through how many kind of brands and fascias exist under the JD group. And I guess in particular, you know, the sports fashion business has started it all back in 1981 with a single store that opened in the northwest of England. But since then, we've grown to be a company of over 2,500 shops under several sort of banners, diversified banners. So we've got kind of the sports fashion business, which, you know, people will be familiar with the JD brand on the high street. But in recent years, we've kind of diversified into the outdoor market. So that's a growing business for us. In the fascias of Blacks, Millets, Go Outdoors, Tyso exist under that outdoors brand. But also we have a premium fashion parts of the business. So I guess that's more kind of high-end fashion in brands like Scott's and Tessuti. We've got quite a strong international growth strategy at the minute, and people may have seen that we've taken on some big acquisitions across the globe. We've expanded in Europe a lot in the last 10 years, but also we're looking at, well, we've opened stores in Asia Pacific, so in the likes of Malaysia, South Korea, Australia, and soon to be Thailand. But then we've also gone further west into the USA.
Yeah.
So we've acquired a big sports fashion company called Finish Line. Yeah, exciting times really, and very much a growing business.
Yeah, very much global dominations on the cards. Just before we move on to the next question, what does the P and the PMO stand for at JD Sports Fashion then?
Well, it could be lots of things, but we do one thing that we do have is plenty of projects. So we do take on a lot as a company, as you might imagine, with the number of fascias and sort of companies under the group that we have to serve. So, you know, that for me, you know, our portfolio is massive, and we have to focus on delivering, you know, good quality projects to the business and IT as well. So you know, I guess plenty is a good way to sum up the
Plenty
P
management office.
Yeah, plenty of projects.
Okay. So, I mean, it's fairly obvious you guys are busy. So you might already have answered this question in part, but why did you determine that you needed a PPM solution?
We started looking probably about 18 months ago as a solution to try and sort of fix some of the control and management of projects at JD. So we wanted to make sure that we could kind of align all of our processes, and we thought that a PPM solution would help us to do that. And I guess with that alignment, you know, we wanted to kind of optimize the portfolio as well, so make sure that we're getting the most out of our portfolio, and it's it's working hard for us. Resource management, that was key for us. As I mentioned before, we have to juggle a lot of projects, and so the demand on my team is pretty huge. So making sure that we're doing the right thing at the right time, and delivering business value, or business value as quickly as we can to the business is key for us. We felt like we also had to get sort of tighter control around project budgets and capex expenditure on projects as well. So that's key for us to make sure that we're focused on spending the right money on the right projects, and as I said, delivering business value is one of our kind of key strategic goals, and realizing benefits as early as possible. So getting the most out of our portfolio is key. And as I said before, making sure that we're strategically aligned with the business objectives. So we've got to be doing projects that align to what the business want to do. Else you've got to kind of wonder, what's the point in doing something if it's not ultimately delivering the ultimate goal of the business. And then I guess a big one for us was, it might sound small, but actually just consistency in project reporting. So making sure that we've got very much an objective view of projects, and we're fully transparent to our key stakeholders and the wider business on our projects. So that was key for me, to try and sort of get sort of good quality reporting of the portfolio.
And historically, how were you compiling your reports?
So it was quite a manual process prior to putting in a PPM solution. So a lot of the time was spent by the project managers having to kind of do their weekly project highlight reports, doing sort of monthly board reports, and we just felt that when I kind of came back into JD, we felt there's a better way to do things, and making sure that the project managers could focus more on sort of value add activity rather than having to take on sort of admin overheads of doing project reports. So that's an important one, because it gives time back to the PMs to, as I say, focus on
actually
driving
delivering
projects. Yeah, exactly.
And in terms of resource demand management, again, was that a largely manual exercise that you're undertaking?
Yeah, so demand was managing demand. Projects could sort of be initiated from all areas of the business, whether it's walk-ups or an email, or someone just having an idea. Although kind of the PPM solution doesn't necessarily give us a way to manage demand, once that project has kind of been initiated, it kind of gets initiated in the right way in Microsoft Project Online. So we've got visibility of it early, rather than us getting involved at a later date when it's too late, really. So that really helped.
Yeah, and you say that requests come in from various areas of the business. So what types of projects do you typically undertake within your area, your PMO?
So any kind of any projects that have a systems impact. So we're the IT PMO at JD Sports. So we do a lot of internal kind of departmental IT projects, but we also run a lot of cross-functional projects for the wider business. So any project really that has an IT element to it, we would then generally sort of get involved with.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark. So another question is why or how did you settle on Microsoft Project Online as being the PPM solution that you were going to deploy at JD Sports Fashion?
So I'd used I guess Project Server, so an on-premise solution of an instance of Microsoft Project Server previously at Allied Milling and Baking. So kind of I knew a little bit about the application, the tool prior to implementing it at JD Sports. It's Microsoft deliver a sort of a best of breed product, and it's a good solution for us because it gives us the flexibility of an online solution rather than a kind of on-premise implementation. But because it's sort of cloud-based, we can integrate it with our other Office 365 apps, which gives us sort of quite powerful project management capabilities for planning, prioritizing, and managing projects and our portfolio. So the project managers are used to Microsoft projects, albeit they were using it in more of a local instance rather than in an enterprise fashion. So they were used to the project application, and this just felt like a sort of a natural sort of evolution towards more of an enterprise view of the portfolio. So I think it was in the end, it was a bit of a no-brainer for me. And with Microsoft, obviously, you get in good quality support, and you get in an updated product that will take lots of investment in the future. So we're pretty reassured that was the right tool for us.
Talking of uptake within your organization itself, now change management is very important because you could have the world's best configured solution, but without effective change management and the right level of buy-in, an implementation can very easily fail. So how did you ensure that this was a success?
Okay, so it was very important for me to get buy-in to this, and to get buy-in, I thought that we need to follow a project process to deliver this, and for me to think that delivering Microsoft Project Online is just like running a project for the business. So we followed a project methodology, which was to make sure that we're writing a proposal for the change. We're doing a PID, we're doing a business case to get the investment to deliver the solution. So it was very important that those sort of project artifacts were put in place, which would then sort of help the key stakeholders and senior management team that I needed to sort of sign this off to buy into what I was trying to deliver. So they just didn't sort of see me as going to them asking for budget to put this in place. It was I wanted them to see that this is actually a well thought out sort of project that was, and I was clear on what benefits I was going to deliver as part of the implementation. So that was important to get that initial kind of buy-in from the sponsor and finance, and then after that, really, it was very important for me to get our kind of business processes and in place before we actually embarked on delivering or implementing the solution. Because I think actually if you're clear on what your project processes are, it actually helps when you come to sort of configure the tool, and we're working with Wellingtone's implementation team. When they're asking questions about how do you want Microsoft Project to work for JD or Project Online to work for JD, we're very clear on how our methodology and business processes work at the minute. So I think that was important for us. And then we kind of thought about how we're going to implement it, and we wanted to break it down into a phased implementation, and not deliver, it in a big bang way where we're releasing all the functionality at one point to the end users. So we actually looked at just delivering sort of the core functionality as a phase one, and the basic sort of out of the box, as part of the initial implementation. And then we've actually sort of broken the second phase down into kind of more doing an analysis of the portfolio. So delivering sort of change in increments was worked well for us on this, and releasing or opening up elements of the system to the users has worked well. So that's kind of I definitely recommend a phased approach if you're thinking about.
Definitely. You don't want to boil the ocean in one day. You need to take small steps.
Exactly. And although we had ultimately we've got a fairly small group of end users in a dozen users, it's still important that you get those users to buy into the change, and get behind what you're trying to deliver, because people are used to working in a certain way, and with the tool, you have to standardize the way you do things, and it's only the output's only as good as really what you put into it. So putting the quality data into the project site, making sure that you've got your project plans in a quite a uniform, structured way is key, because that drives a lot of the output from projects online. So we invested a lot of time in just getting our plans in a good state, and a good up to a good standard. And people have different levels of experience with Microsoft projects. So for some people it was straightforward, but others, it took a little more kind of coaching. Yeah, but we've got there in the end, and people are seeing the benefits of having good project schedules and having good information input into the project site, making sure that risks and issues are maintained and raised in a uniform way is key. So that was really important. And then finally, I guess from a training perspective, we made sure that all users attended the training. It was a 2 or 3 day 3 day period of user training, and people were committed to that. So by the end of that, everyone was up at the same standard.
Yeah, good. And you've already touched upon, presenting some of the benefits you expect to get right at the beginning to the senior stakeholders. So from those benefits you defined at the beginning, how many have you realized so far?
Okay, so in the initial sort of business case, we listed a number of benefits, and we're 12 months into the implementation, or we've been live for 12 months, and I would say that there's some key ones that we've managed to realize. There's others that we're still kind of work in progress. So real-time project visibility is something that we're really passionate about. So being as transparent as we can be on projects, making sure that people are aware of the latest status or update on the project is very important. Making sure that stakeholders are aware of what the key risks and issues are, knowing where you're up to with your plans, what's on track, what's hitting the baseline, what's not, and giving you the opportunity to then kind of bring that back to green, if you like. So that's really important, that consistent approach to managing projects. As I said before, when we implemented the change, getting users to follow a standard and consistent approach is very important. Project managers are different, and you won't want a robot PM, if you like, but we have to kind of manage projects in a consistent way, and I think that gives us a lot of kudos and benefit with the business as well, because they know what they're getting when they get a project manager from my team. They get that standard, consistent approach.
Good.
And then having that portfolio of projects that we can review on an ongoing basis to make sure that we're doing things that are strategically aligned is very important. The tool is configured to fit in with our sort of project life cycle. So we've got a standard project methodology that we use. It's I mentioned earlier that it's all about delivering business value as quickly as possible, and that's a key strategic objective for us. But projects are different. You know, some projects you could deliver in a really sort of agile, collaborative way. Others you can't get away from having to deliver sort of waterfall projects, and that's the best approach. Others are a bit of a hybrid. So we don't at JD, we don't have a sort of a standard project methodology. We look at what type of project it is at the start of the project, and then we tailor the methodology to suit the project. So, you know, delivering a tool to support us on that is really important. But I think we've done a decent job of setting up the tool to help us and support us do that, and our project support office do a great job in supporting the project managers to drive the project through the life cycle.
And is that supported by the use of enterprise project types within Project Online?
Yeah, we've got a couple of templates in Project Online at the minute. So we've got I guess a bog standard project or program that we use, but we also deliver. We call them small works, which I guess is a project light, and we've configured a template to help us deliver those type of projects. We've also, as we've kind of got into the last 12 months, we're delivering a lot of programs of work. So we're trying to get Microsoft Project to support us with more program management of projects, whereby, you know, a program may be made up of a dozen or also kind of work streams or projects. So we're trying to sort of configure or make Microsoft Project work for us in a program level. And then there's others which, you know, we'll come on to sort of what the future holds, but the ones that are grayed out or that are grayed out on the slide are aspirational ones. So we want to get a lot better at resource management. That will be involved a bigger change across the IT department to make sure that we're aligned from a resource perspective. We're very passionate about trying to understand what the true cost of projects are, and that's very important to make sure that we're understanding that there are real business benefits in delivering projects. And if we can understand what the true cost of projects are, we can do the analysis after the event, and we learn lessons for projects of a similar type going forward. And we can say then to the business, you know, that look back and say, right, well, actually, to deliver this change, this was the investment to do that. So that's really, really important for us. And to support us in that, you know, we need to work out what the actual time spent on projects is. So we are using timesheets to a certain extent within the application at the minute, but we want to broaden that out and get a wider spectrum of users logging actual time through the application going forward. And then project prioritization is something that is a real challenge for us. We've got, as I said before in the introduction, we've got a lot of programs and projects that we want to deliver, and making sure that we're focusing on delivering projects that are going to deliver the biggest business benefits are key, and looking at the order in which we do that as well, because one project will have a dependency on something else. So perhaps we can look at a future plan for Microsoft PPM as helping us in that area, and then increasing the user adoption. So we want to make sure that the application is being used by not just people within IT, but, you know, the wider stakeholder audience. You know, they're getting business benefit out of the tool. they're using the project site for the documentation library. They're reviewing risks and issues. They've got one port of call for everything that they need to know about that project.
And having been through the journey yourself now, obviously you have captured lessons learned. What lessons would you like to share with people that might be looking to go through that journey themselves?
So I guess I touched on it earlier, but getting the support from the sponsor is key, because we're changing an output that we give to the business. So we're changing something that they're used to, but getting the sponsor to buy into the changes is key, really. And we had a good sponsor to help us and champion the change. And I feel we've got a better quality output that we can deliver to the business now. And you canvass the project managers, and they've really bought into the product as well, the application. They're getting real sort of business benefit out of it. It's helping them organise their day-to-day routines and projects. So it's really has been beneficial to them. Lessons learned as well, getting that desire, creating that desire or sense of urgency to change. I guess it's basic change management, but making people feel like there's a better way of doing things, and getting them to buy into that is also key. I touched on it as well, that making sure that I think this is really important actually, making sure your project processes and methodology are documented and written down before you embark on implementing Microsoft Project Online, is especially when you're building the application as well, when the implementation partner or resource is asking you questions about how you want the system set up. If you know what your processes and your methodology is, it makes it a lot easier to relay your requirements when you're actually building the application. It's not fair to say that you only get one crack at it, but it's better, or it's easier if you configure 99% of it correctly up front, because changing it further down the line is it's a lot more difficult.
Absolutely. People can lose buy-in, and really want the tool to be molded to your ways of working. You don't want something that's kind of a one-size-fits-all approach, do you?
And we consulted with the project managers when we were building and configuring the tool, and that really helped us. And we played back the configuration as well to the project support analysts and the PMs, which really helped. And then weekly checkpoint calls with Wellingtone, making sure that you were always in close contact with the implementation team there. That was really important. There wasn't really a week that went by where we didn't have a checkpoint call, and sometimes it was only 5 or 10 minutes. Other times when we're in the build stage, Wellingtone were either on site or on the end of the phone, which always helped that constant dialogue.
Yeah, keeps the momentum going as well, doesn't it?
It does, yes, it does, yeah. And investment in training, as I say, it's key to get everyone has to attend the training. It's really important that something doesn't crop up which trumps having to go to the training. So making sure that all the end users are in the same room while they're going through the training also helps, because they can bounce stuff off each other and talk about the product and the application. That works well. Environment requirements were really important. So making sure that when it was a task that JD were responsible for, so perhaps delivering the reporting server, for example, that was delivered in a timely and efficient manner to the requirements of Wellingtone. So whether it's how the server was configured. So setting up the environment was really key. Investment in time in the config review, as I said before, walking through that config, which we did as part of a documented process, was really important, so that we can make sure that all the fields that we wanted were there, the system flowed in the correct way. That was really important. And we've got a couple of really good administrators that know the tool really well. We've got one who's got a lot of SharePoint experience and skills, and that actually has served us really well, because they've been able to challenge some of the things that we've been told we can or can't do, because they've got experience in SharePoint. So that's really important, because it also pushes back the ownership onto us as the client. So we're not always having to pick up the phone to Wellingtone, who to be fair, answer support calls very, very quickly, but we can take ownership for the ongoing admin of the system, and we're only really coming to Wellingtone for things that we're perhaps really stuck with, or something that we really want to change or get advice on. Feels like more of a consultancy some point than a support desk. And then as I mentioned before, sort of breaking down the implementation is important, and drip feeding stuff to the end users helps them get buy into it and use the tool. And finally, thinking about reporting. So reporting plays a massive part of our PMO, and producing good quality reports is really important. And so that think about what type of reports you want up front. Make sure that you get those nailed, and that will help an implementation.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, it's worth thinking about the reporting right at the very beginning, so that you can actually almost reverse engineer the implementation itself to ensure that you are capturing the right level of detail with the configurations at the point, where it's actually going to deliver the report that you want. But Mark, thank you so much for sharing your customer story today. And you can read all about the JD Sports case study on the Wellington website. The address is now on the screen. But we have got multiple case studies on there right now, and there are new case studies being added pretty much on a weekly basis. Should you have any questions, then you can get in touch. My contact details are displayed right now. You can also follow Wellington on LinkedIn and read about the annual PMO event that we run at futurepmo.com. And of course, you can discover a lot more about JD Sports Fashion by going to jdplc.com. But in closing, again, thank you very much for everyone that's joined. And to you, Mark, as well, for taking the time to tell your story today, JD Sports Fashion. Details on other upcoming events are available on the Wellington website as well. The address again being displayed on the screen. But again, from myself and from Mark, thank you for joining.
Thank you.